A nightmare I'm living in. He called me crazy, called me drunk, and I said, I know well, I can see you.
Welcome to Second Story. I'm Josh Cybulski, joined by Corey Leckie. I stumbled across this video, Core. I thought it'd be interesting for us to talk about it since we are in this spot. This is Mistakes I Learned Turning 40. Something along those lines. The title of it is a bit long, but it's basically, I'm 40, here's 20 mistakes. Or I guess 20 years of mistakes in 15 minutes.
I think he's trying to just break it down into 15 minutes and give you that quick learning in 15 minutes of what he got over 20.
Yeah, so here's all the life lessons that you can learn in 20 minutes. Yeah, let's get into it. Oh, I should point out, this is from the Dad Mode and Dark Mode YouTube. It's a good follow, very interesting guy. We'll try to link the video after the fact. Here we go.
So I'm 40 years old, and I'm going to be compressing the last 22 years of my life in roughly 10 minutes here. So the major mistakes that I've made, the pain that I've felt and dealt with, and the wrong turns that nearly cost me everything. So the next 10 minutes, it might save you from losing a decade trying to learn what I had to suffer through to understand.
That's
and
what we're trying to do.
Nothing that I am going to say here
That's exactly what we're trying to do on this channel, by the way, in case you're curious.
is theoretical. It is all firsthand experience. It's hard earned. It's paid for in time, and lots of regret and consequences. So this is what happens when you stop running from your past long enough to study it. So if you're in your late teens or 20s, listen closely, okay? Because I've paid a very dear price for these lessons, and I would rather you learn from my scars than earn your own the hard way, okay? So when I was 18, I got lost, man. Not just a little. I mean, I was lost in drugs and aimless friends, nights that just bled into mornings. I wasn't living. I thought I was, but I wasn't. I was hiding. It was escapism is what I was choosing every day. And escapism, it feels like freedom until you realize that the walls are just invisible. I mean, that went on until I was 20, between 20 and 21. That's when it ended. That's when the pain of staying in that life, it finally became greater than the pain it would take to get out of it. And, I made the decision to walk away for good. That's when.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that's almost my exact timeline from 18 to 21. And for me, it was like I met my wife at 22 years old. And that's kind of where the trajectory kind of changed for me. I actually got jumped and beat up at my house when I was 20 or 21.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of the starting point to me going down a better path than I was going. But yeah, exact same timeline. And escapism is a good way to put it. Like, I never really thought of it that way, but I feel like that's what I was trying to do, is just escape reality. Whether that was, doing drugs, drinking, whatever it may be, just usually partying. That was kind of my escapism.
Yeah, mine was longer. It's tough. There were things, as far as my escapism goes, I'd say like the bulk of it was 18 to 23, but it did carry over a few more years. It's just like the version that I was in, it just changed. Like I leaned harder into certain things versus other things. And really, it started to end when my dad died. That was kind of the beginning of the end of that period of my life. But that was like a big, obviously, wake up call for me. Like, oh shit, he's dead, and I'm probably not going to live, much longer than he did. And he died at 52, and I was 25 when he died. So I was like, oh, am I at that midway point of my life? I better, get my shit together. And that was kind of what started it all. So I do relate to this. I'd say the bulk of what he's describing was like 18 to 23 though.
Yeah.
And that's when everything shifted for me. And that's when I stopped I stopped surviving and I really started growing. I started the pursuit of growing as a person. And here's the thing is you don't outgrow that life. You walk out of it and you walk alone. And so, I mean, when I finally crawled out of that season of my life, I thought the answer was love, a woman, right? I believed if I just found someone who accepted me, everything broken in me would just, I don't know, would just disappear. I don't know. I would, I would be complete or something. And of course, I was dead wrong. I didn't need a woman to complete me. I needed a mission, and I didn't need that particular type of love. I needed self-respect. I didn't have that. I was asking women to validate a man who hadn't even been built yet.
I did that.
Yep, same.
Yeah. The interesting thing about doing that, whether you're a man or a woman, if you do that, if you haven't built yourself yet and you go looking for another person, you don't end up finding the best person. Because you're not the best person, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of young people are kind of finding that out, especially men, who I think are probably finding this out more than women, is that like if your life is a mess, like going and finding someone to date is probably not the best idea. Like you do have to build yourself up first. It's like the whole expression of being on a plane. Like you got to put your own mask on before you start putting other people's on. That's kind of how I see it, is that, and I knew this years later, like before I met my wife, the year before I met my wife, I basically spent like a year rebuilding myself in a lot of ways. I hadn't completed the rebuild, but like I was tearing parts of myself down and just rebuilding. And I didn't really have any intention of meeting anyone. Like I was trying to date, but it wasn't like a sole focus of mine. I got very lucky that I did meet my wife, and she added so much to my life. But like the year leading up to meeting her, I was trying to do this. I was trying to build myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I always related to that song Self-Esteem by Offspring.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Just like super low self-esteem, would kind of let people walk all over me and then wonder like well, I should say they would walk all over me until I blew up, kind of thing. And then you're wondering like why don't these people like me? And it's like, well, because you don't like yourself. How can someone else like you if you don't even have enough self-respect to like yourself? Like I was so destructive.
Yeah. Me too.
So,
I think a lot of young men are, even still. Worse now, probably.
yeah.
If that is ultimately what self-respect is, right? Liking yourself, having a good opinion of yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't.
Yeah, because and the other thing is like if you don't have a good opinion of yourself, even if someone does like you and they're, trying to compliment you or something, you can't take those compliments. And that was a big thing for me. I was like for years just couldn't take compliments, couldn't see why anyone, would even like want a relationship with me because I didn't like myself. And that's what it came down to, right? That's why I was so self-destructive.
Yeah, you don't have self-love, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, totally relatable.
I did not know anything. I had no confidence, no competence, and absolutely no direction. So, as you can imagine, every relationship was essentially a mirror of my confusion. And you can't build something stable on top of that. You just can't. If you don't know who you are, I mean, you'll hand that job to whoever gives you attention. And boy, I did. Okay. And what they'll do is they'll just build a version of you that benefits them, not you. It's bad for both parties. Okay. And now at 40, I've realized something very important, that I don't need a woman to love me to feel complete. I don't. Would it be nice to have that? Yeah, absolutely. It would. It would be beautiful to meet a kind woman, live on a farm and make a bunch of babies and raise them in truth and purpose and protect them from this corrupt world. Yeah, of course, that would be awesome. That's a dream any man with a good heart would have. But by the time you hit my age, here's the thing is you learn to see reality for what it is. Hopefully. You stop living off of ideals and start operating off clarity, off of what's realistic. You realize that fulfillment doesn't come from what you get, it comes from what you build. And you can't be looking for other people to get these things. They have to come from you.
What do you think on that?
Well, I think anyone that says they don't need a woman or whatever, they're just hiding the fact that they're a loser. No, I'm just kidding. No, I get what he's saying. He's trying to say that that you need to be able to build on your own. You can't really rely on someone else to pull you up. And I'm realizing that in this age too, is like there's really no one out there that's going to save you, and that includes, you know, your family, your spouse, your best friends. Like no one's really coming to save you. You really have to build yourself up and figure it out on your own. Obviously you can bounce ideas off them and stuff, but it's ultimately you that's got to make the decisions and move forward. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's tough for a lot of men our age, because so much of our life was sort of not predetermined, but a lot of people made the decisions kind of for us, or society made it for us, and we didn't really have to actually make a choice. Like even you look at everything, like everything's kind of decided for you as you're growing up. Like they decide what school you go to, kind of who your friends are, right? Your parents do that too. Like, well, you can't be friends with that guy or this person. They do have a big say in it. And then as you get older, you know, they might have a say in where you go to school, where you move to. And then society has a say in that too. Like if you can't afford to move somewhere, you're not going to move there. Right.
yeah.
You can't get a job there. You're not going to move there. You can't get that job sort of decided. Really, your decisions and the things that you get to sort of choose for yourself are in a very narrow window of what you can actually decide. And I did find this, like, even my early years being married to my wife, I just, and I still do this now. I catch myself doing it, or she'll point it out. But there are a lot of times where I just like won't make the decision. And it's not like a complicated decision. It's like, where are we eating tonight? I'm just like, oh, well, what do you feel like? And she's always like, you're the one that eats a lot. Like, you're the one who's going to have a craving. And she's right. But I don't know. I'm just like wired to kind of be a people pleaser and like default to someone else, because I don't want to pick something that other people won't like, or make a decision that's unpopular. And I really have to like actively work against that. And it's the way I was brought up.
Yeah. I think there's another important side to this too, is like other people will latch onto you and try to make you their problem solver too. So not only do we need to like be able to problem solve for ourselves and not rely on other people, other people will come to you and try to be that, to take that reliance from you. So you got to be careful of that too, because it's often easier to it's often easy to go, yeah, I can fix all these people's problems, but really it comes down to the same thing. They have to be able to solve it for themselves. So
for sure. Yeah. It's like, I've talked on the show about having a wealthy friend who's like, I'll open the door for you, but I won't hold your hand as you walk through it. Like I'll let you in, but it's up to you to go like build yourself and build something. So it kind of plays into what you're saying. I also found it was interesting when you talk about like foundation and stuff like that. Your foundation is you. Like no one's going to build the foundation for you. And if you know anything about a foundation, like if you build a house on a shitty foundation, you're going to end up with a really shitty house. And it's the same for your life too. Like if you haven't put in the work to like, work on yourself and get better and things like that, everything that you build on top of that is not going to be good. And I think I'm so guilty of this, but like I constantly, when I was young, rushed into relationships because I was just like I was basically too insecure to be alone, like be single. And I think it would have done me a lot of good to be single for a lot longer periods of time. Like the times where I did the most growing and learning were the times that I was alone, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the times where I was probably the most destructive were the times where I was in unhealthy relationships.
Yeah. And sometimes in that alone period, it's due to pain, sadness, and boredom, right? And those things often spur creativity. So you were able to be a little bit more creative and produce some things in those times, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, the genesis of my book, Second Story Work, was I was basically homeless and couch surfing and in a real dark place, and I started just writing as like almost a therapy. It took me 12 years to write it, but eventually it was, we put it out eventually. But that, you're right, that's where the creativity kind of spawned from. All right, back to the video.
I mean, and here's the thing: is you also, when you become 40, you get around this age, you start to notice things faster. You see patterns. And sure, like your reflexes, your physical reflexes might not be as sharp as they were at 20. I know mine definitely aren't, but your instincts are way stronger. You don't waste time explaining what your gut already knows. I mean, listening to your gut, you really learn to do that when you get to 40. So even mid 30s. But I mean, that's what experience does. I mean, it trades speed for accuracy, and it trades energy for wisdom, and impulse for emotional intelligence. I mean, that's the quiet power that comes with age. Perspective can't be faked. It just can't. And so, but yeah, I mean, in my 20s, I mean, I think I had a few real friends I still talk to this day, but for the most part, I didn't have real friends. I mean, there's a handful that I still talk to today that are, really good people that I stay in contact with, even though we're very far apart. But I mean, I had a lot of just fair weather friends, just people who were only around when things were easy, when the night was young, when it was all jokes and no accountability, But the second that life got serious, I mean, they were nowhere to be found. They disappeared. And I think that
it's a couple of things to talk about in there. I want to go back to the perspective part. Perspective cannot be faked. I would agree with that, what he said there. And there is this thing that happens as you get older, and I'm starting to notice it more and more, is that he's right when he says like you have that like ability to see patterns, and you can pick up on bullshit more as you get older. At least our generation can. I think for like folks older than us, I don't think they can, because they grew up in an era where everything was bullshit. Like seriously, like there are people who are in their like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s who still pine for like the old school Walter Cronkite news. And they're like, back then it was the truth. And it's like, actually it wasn't. It was just, there was one person talking and everybody just took it as gospel that he was right, but he was spewing a lot of bullshit. But everybody still pines for that. And I think a lot of older folks are still in that trap where they sort of trust authoritative figures as being like 100% correct, and they don't ever question any of that stuff. But our generation, the ones who are less than 50, and this is probably even more true as you go younger, they've just been lied to so much, and it's all kind of out in the open now that you recognize now when somebody's lying to you or not telling you the truth, and you have this ability to like just recall something that might have happened. You don't remember the exact details of it, but your gut tells you like, you've seen this, it's bullshit. You know it. Yeah. And we have a very interesting ability to do that now. And I'm noticing it more and more with myself. I can spot like, if somebody's trying to spin me a yarn or something like that, or if, something's bullshit or whatever, like I have a very easy time to be like, that's just not correct. And I know it.
Yeah. Oftentimes I'll hear someone start doing that, and I'm like, I've heard this before, right? Like you're literally just regurgitating something you heard from a politician or from the media or from this. It's like the exact talking points that you're saying right now. So what you're saying is meaningless.
Yeah. And I don't know if that, like, perspective is super important. Obviously you need it, but there's like you have to be careful with like becoming disillusioned by your own perspective, because you start to see things for what they are, and more importantly, you see people for what they are. That's tough, because you can become very disillusioned by people. If, I don't know, you give somebody enough time, eventually they show you who they are. And if they're not a good person, that's hard to swallow if they've been a big part of your life, or if they're like very ingrained in your life.
Yeah. Well, we've talked to a few people too, like Justin Prince and Brian Tran, and they've talked about updating your belief systems, right? And continually updating that. So, because a belief system is just something that you've been indoctrined to think, right? Like, for the most part, I mean, you're believing in something because it's been told to you at some point, whether it's right or wrong.
You can also do that to yourself, I think.
In what way?
Like you can believe something to be true that you've basically talked or tricked yourself into believing.
Give me an example.
Sure. In modern society.
Yeah.
So I believe that there are a lot of people in our society today who have an inflated sense of self. And it's not something that other people have necessarily told them. It's something that they get from within, that they've created inside of themselves. Yeah. There are a lot. Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about, is where people have this, it's like it's arrogance essentially, but it's like you have an inflated value system placed on yourself. You think you are better, whatever. It could be smarter than you actually are, funnier than you actually are, better looking than you actually are, a better mate than you actually are, whatever. It's like, this is going to be silly, but it's like where the whole phrase hoflation comes from. Have you heard that phrase before?
Hopeflation?
Hoflation.
Oh, hoflation.
Have you heard that expression?
No, I haven't.
No, it's basically, I don't know who created it. It's kind of a silly thing, but it's like this belief that there are women out there who have an inflated value placed on themselves. Like they think they're better than they are, so they won't date beneath them. So they've essentially closed off the dating pool to them, because they won't actually date somebody at level. They want to date somebody who's like really much better than they are in certain ways. So like they've basically, like if you were to say they're a 6, they'll tell you they're a 10. That's hoflation. That's kind of what it means. And I'm not saying it's just something women do. Men do it often too, like maybe more. Yeah. I know a ton of men who have, I think men are more egotistical than women, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I know more arrogant men than arrogant women, and not by a small number either. Like I would say by a pretty substantial amount. So I don't know what you call hoflation for men. We need to come up with a name for that, but it does exist too, for sure.
Yeah. I think too, like belief systems are going to change with your circumstance too. I mean, like what you see as like, you know, this is what I live by. That's going to change depending on what circumstance you're in. So like, for instance, if I got sick or something like that, I'm probably going to have a completely different belief system than I did when I was like perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like
the
things that I take as gospel truth are going to probably change depending on what I'm going through.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't give grace to others for that. I've only started doing this in the last few years, because I used to be somebody who would just argue about everything. But now if somebody says something I don't necessarily agree with, instead of like defaulting to like shutting their belief down, which is what most people do now, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Why do you think that? Because I am curious. And a part of that comes from, I just keep updating my belief system all the time. Like my belief system is totally different than it was 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, or 7, or even maybe 2 years ago. Like the things that I believe to be true change all the time based on the mountain of evidence that I'm fed every year.
Right.
Yeah. And some of it I sort of feed myself, right? Just the perspective I have when I see things, or like my interpretation of the world around me, like that all plays into it. But obviously other people do too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
The second point he was getting to, which maybe we won't have much to comment on until after he goes through it, but just friends. Going through your 20s, I definitely had a lot of fair weather friends in my 20s that just kind of popped in and out of my life. And a lot of it was tied to the fun that we were having at the time. And they were just kind of around for that. And anything serious or difficult, they were just not there for.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely went through some serious, difficult situations and suddenly realized like, oh, I don't really actually have anyone here. They're only here when I'm like good to go and drink with them or smoke weed with them or whatever. And then suddenly, like, you know, you get beat up or something like that, and then they're just suddenly not there. You're like, oh shit, I don't have
Yeah.
these friends, like really good friends. I thought they were fair weather. So
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure there's some people who would probably say the same thing about me, that I was a fair weather friend, and I
yep,
probably was at
me too.
parts of my life too. Yeah, absolutely. I can recognize who it would be with, and they would probably feel that way. But I was lucky in my 20s, though. I had certain friends, obviously you, like when I was in film school, like I met some lifelong friends at college that I still talk to this day. I actually have a lot of friends from college that I still speak to, and we haven't lived in the same city for 20 years.
Yeah.
But at the time they were like there through some of the darkest shit in my life, and were not just there to have a good time. Like they were actually there to be a friend and support and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Let's go.
Most people in their 20s really are just selfish and lost. I mean, I'm a millennial, so, you know, I think a lot of millennials can relate with this. I mean, it's just, it's the blind leading the blind. And yeah, every now and then a blind squirrel will find a nut. But yeah, I mean, everyone's just, they're pretending to have things figured out, you know, but they're silently hoping that someone else does, honestly. But I mean, when it comes to friends, I mean, you have to, what I've learned is you have to be just very discerning about that. You know, who you spend time with, it really shapes who you become. What is it? The 5 people that you spend the most time with, or you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's very true. I mean, but here's the thing: if you find that one person who is there for you at 3 a.m., who sticks with you through the storms, and you hold on to that person, that is a friendship that's worth nurturing and worth maintaining. And you reciprocate. You be that same man for him. Okay, you be that same friend in return. None of that one-sided stuff.
Yeah. So I do believe this to be true, and the stuff he's saying about being 20s too, absolutely. Like I lived through that. I remember coming home from college one year, not having a job, and none of my friends had jobs, and our one friend had started a business, and we all looked to him. We're like, "Oh shit! Like, can I get a job with you?" And he was hiring people, and like basically like 12 of my friends went after like 3 jobs, and he was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be great." And I was one of the people he hired at the time. And then I remember it was a painting gig, and I can remember going to the first job. And like I thought he had it all together, and we get to the job. I'm like, "Yo, where's the paint?" And he's like, "Oh fuck!" Like he didn't bring paint to a painting job. And I was like, "This guy doesn't have a clue what he's doing." And I remember like sat there for like 2 or 3 hours just smoking cigs, like no paint or anything there. But I was just like, I gotta lead my own life, because this guy doesn't have a clue what he's doing, and I can't be following him. And it was kind of like what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, and he's talking about like how people like just kind of act like they have it all together, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And there was certainly a lot of that. I've done it. I've faked my way through a lot of my life saying, oh yeah, I'm going to do this and I've got this together and this job's going to take me here and blah, blah, blah. And really, you don't know where everything's going to go for sure. You can think you do and try, but you don't know what's going to change, what market's going to crash out, what, you know, landlord's going to kick you out of the house, whatever. Like all these things happen. So
anything that I've done in my entire life, I had no idea how to do it. Anything.
Yeah.
I had no clue how to do anything that I've ever done.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. No, but like all of it. And there are some people who have to live that way, like us, but there are some people who don't. There are some people who get walked into a business, and like I know people, I won't say who they are, but I know people who have never done a job interview their entire life.
Yeah.
Because they got a job, someone got them a job, and they've just stuck with it for however long.
Yeah.
And like if they lose that job, like they're gonna be fucked. Like their first thing's gonna be, how do I make a resume? And the resume is gonna be one thing. I mean, that's good. Like you were loyal or whatever. You lasted at a place for so long. But yeah, they're going to be like the whole idea of like the job market and things like that. They'd be screwed. So there is something to grinding through it and suffering through it that is important. It actually goes back to what he says at the beginning. Like, I'm going to tell you what happened to me so that you don't have to suffer. I think you have to suffer some. Otherwise, you don't have things like gratitude or perspective, which, yeah. And regret, I don't think regret is something you should carry for a long time, but like if you're really suffering, having regret for a short period of time can be really helpful and like motivational, but long term, it's definitely a negative thing to carry all the time.
Yeah. I said grit, but yeah.
That's true. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Grit too. Like grit does come from like going through some shit.
Yeah. Just to touch on one other thing around friends, it's weird because in my probably early 20s and that I used to judge my friends on if they were there for me when I went through hard times. Like like he was talking about that came up for him. As I've gotten older, I've started judging my friends based on, do they come to me for help? Right. So if I hear about a friend who's just like, yeah, I've been just suffering alone and didn't come to you to talk to you about it, I'm like, is this person like, do they respect me and my opinion as a friend? Like, should I be friends with this person? They're not even coming to me for help. I actually do think about that sometimes.
I've never thought about that, but now I am. I've had a lot of friends come to me over the last like year and a half. So basically since we started this show, and talk to me about like mental health stuff, struggles, things, shit that they're going through. And they're not coming to me because I'm like some god who's got it all figured out. I think they're coming to me because they know I'm going through it too.
Yeah. And I guess what I'm looking for in a friend now is trust, right? In both ways.
That's what it is.
I want them to trust me and I want to trust them. But more so like I want them to trust me now. Yeah. Before I wanted it the other way around.
That's interesting. Yeah. That is kind of what I never looked at it like that. And I never thought about the trust thing, but that's the people that I am talking to, like the friends of mine who have come to me are pretty much all lifelong friends. Guys I've been friends with since I'm like 4 years old. Mm-hmm. There's a few of them that I've known maybe 10 years. But like, I think I'm up to like 9 friends who have come to me and been like, dude, I watched this clip or I saw this part of your podcast and like, this is what I'm going through. And you're probably right. It probably is trust because they see that like I'm talking about the shit I'm going through and it's almost like we're shit brothers. You know what I mean? We're in the shit together. Yeah. Or we got shit on each other, sort of. Yeah, we're shit brothers. Anyways, yeah, that's interesting.
Okay. And I've also learned that you can't be friends with a woman you're attracted to. And I know a lot of men like to say you can't be friends with women, period. I mean, technically you can, but not when attraction's involved. It clouds everything. You can be friends with a woman you're not attracted to. Yeah. But I'd say the most rewarding friendships I've ever had have been with other
men. Hold on, let me finish this point.
Because iron sharpens iron, right? Men need other men to build each other up, to correct each other, to strengthen each other. Because without that, I mean, you end up being surrounded by people who, smile when you're weak and vanish when you're tested. Like I said, they're just fair weather friends. They're only with you when it's sunny out. So, but I mean, here's another thing that I've learned.
I'm gonna pause on that. I've never had a friend that was a girl, like a friend just like me and her being friends, or like in a very small group. I've had friends that are girls in like a large group, but I've never spent time just hanging out with them, like me and them or whatever. Actually, it's not true. I had one platonic friend ever in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we were strictly friends, nothing more. I wasn't attracted to her though, so yeah, kind of to his point, she wasn't attracted to me either. We were almost like a brother and sister more than anything.
Yeah, I'd say every friendship I've ever had with a girl either has ended because I was attracted to them or they were attracted to me. So it can go both ways. Like if you can be completely unattracted to someone, be their friend, but then as soon as they're like, hey, I'm into you, that friendship's not going to work out. It's not
Yeah.
going to last because
Yeah.
that's all there is after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've never actually like dialed it back and been like, have I ever had a friend that was a girl? But yeah, one ever in high school.
Yeah. I have more friends now that are girls, like more colleagues, I guess. But,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
there's no
yeah.
attraction or anything. It's more like just like common interest, I guess, like business or whatever.
Yeah. I don't actually have any like friends that are girls that are like just my friend. It's like my wife's friend who is like by default also my friend. Like
Yeah.
we're friends, but like there's nothing. I didn't go out and find the friendship. You know what I mean? It was like my wife found the friendship, and then I became friends with that person's husband, and then like we kind of we go out all together and our kids play or what have you. It's that's the dynamic now, and there's no attraction or anything like that. But yeah, he's right. He's right when he says that. And
he's also talking about needing to have men around that are going to go to war with you, kind of thing too.
Yes,
iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, he's speaking obviously about like not a real war, although if that ever happened, you'd want men around you too, but more theoretical than anything. But yeah, you definitely do.
Yeah. Well, I think like there's just so many things that you and I talk about that we don't necessarily, like that I probably wouldn't say to my wife. Right. Some of it's just like because it's like offensive or whatever. But there is times, I mean, like do you complain to your wife about your wife? Like if you're having a situation. Yeah, like if you're having a situation, you do.
Well, I just had a big, well, not a big, I complained about one thing to her the other day.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Trouble
I was just
in the
like,
house.
I was like, I don't like when you do this thing. She's like, oh, really? I don't even notice that I'm doing it. I was like, yeah, I don't like it. And she's like, oh, okay, sorry. I'll watch for that. And then like, the day before she had said something to me too. Like I wasn't being petty. It was just something that came up. But like the day before she had said something she didn't like that I was doing. I was like, oh shit. Like I don't even catch myself doing that either. Yeah. Like even, I think it's for her and I, it's like almost not an everyday thing, but like a few times a week we'll point something out like, hey, I don't like this. And it kind of gets squashed right away. And that's, to me, it's the healthy way to have a relationship is that you're transparent and you're talking about the thing.
Yeah. Usually it's one-sided in my house, so it's all the things I'm doing wrong.
I mean, it's definitely more one-sided. Like I'm doing more shit wrong, and there's very few times where she points something out, and I'm just like, oh, I don't believe that. Usually, I'm like, oh yeah, I do that for sure, because I generally do it without really thinking much about it. So she's absolutely right.
All the time. Yeah.
By the way, your
wife's pig.
Yeah, your wife probably is also right. I'm not a disgusting pig. Mine's not like leaving shit around. It's more of like my ADHD brain puts something somewhere where it doesn't go. It's a lot of that. She'll be like, hey, where are my keys? And I'll be like, I don't know. And I'll like walk around the house. I'll be like, they're in the dryer for some reason. Like, and I put them there. Like that's how it goes. She's like, where's my phone? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm charging it. She's like, where? And I'm like, great question. I don't remember. It's like in the car. Yeah, in the car, some shit like that. Yeah, my brain's fucked. But anyways, that's like a lot of her complaint is like, yeah, where'd you put this? And I'll spend an hour and a half trying to find it or what have you. But I'm getting better at actually finding the shit. The other day she asked me for something. I'm like, I know exactly where that is, and I went and found it in like 5 minutes. I was like, I knew where I put that one, but
still took you 5 minutes. That's funny.
Yeah, it still took me 5 minutes. That's like a record for me. I do think it's important though. Like I had a relationship that was very long, like 5 years, and I don't think we fought more than once. I think we had one fight ever. And it was a 5-year relationship, and we fought one time ever. And at the time, I would always brag about it, like, "Oh, we were together 5 years. Like we had one fight ever." And now I look back on it, and I'm like, that relationship was extremely broken, and you could tell because we only ever had one fight. It was like everything, but I'd been trained by like my life and friends and family, like just bottle everything you felt up, and I never really told her anything that I ever felt. I just bottled it up, and that was why there was never any fights. And she was probably the same.
Yeah,
like just bottling it up because like well, knew her family, and it was probably the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the whole Talladega Nights joke that Will Ferrell has, where he's like, just what is it? Cal Naughton tells Will Ferrell's character Ricky Bobby, he's like, he tells him his feelings or whatever. He's like, you just bottle that up and just bury it down inside and don't ever bring it up again. And it's like, yeah, that was my life. Like, that was what everybody told me to do. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't ever bring up your feelings. Come on. All right, back to the video.
Your beliefs, they will evolve. They will. You will not in your when you're 30, when you're 35, and when you're 40, you're going to be 3 different types of people, roughly, because you're going to be introduced to new information, and so it's always important to change your beliefs when you're presented with better information. Of course, information that passes the smell check.
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about this.
But here's the thing: don't get stuck defending an outdated version of yourself just because you once said it out loud. Okay. And it is discourse important? Of course it is. Of course it is. You don't, but here's the thing. You don't ruin a good friendship because you're not perfectly aligned on every single issue, okay? Choose friends, of course, that will have the same morals, values, and principles. I mean, that is the foundation of any good relationship, friendship, or, relationship with a woman. But after that, I mean, just learn to relax, dude. Just kill the motor, dude. Don't just turn your wheels. I mean, yeah, you're still going to have differences. You don't have to debate everything. You don't. I made that mistake plenty of times. Sometimes you just have to just sit back and just chill and just let people think differently without taking it as an attack, or just sit. If it's uncomfortable, just let it be uncomfortable. Okay. That's the beauty of life, is that not everyone thinks the exact same way and has the exact same opinion. That would actually be rather boring and bland, don't you think? But I mean, that's a part of growing up, learning that agreement isn't required for respect. Okay. And then also,
someone needs to
this was throughout my life, teens, 20s, 30s, I tried to fix myself through church.
All right, I'm going to stop there. So back to his point, we'll play the church thing out after. That's where it gets pretty interesting. Or I mean, the whole thing's interesting, but that in particular. Playing back to, so we had already talked about this, right? Before, like the ability to updating your belief system and how you need to change that. I don't remember the first time I watched the video, him saying like that you were going to change 3 times or more. But yeah, he's totally right about that. Like between 30 and 40, I mean, I look back at my 30-year-old self and I was such an idealist. I was literally like supporting Bernie Sanders. I was like, hell yeah, the burn dog, like give him the burn, like all that stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like a 30-year-old commie is basically what I was. And I can tell you, I am not that now. But my friends, I had friends that, prior to the whole COVID pandemic were commies too, like outwardly admitting like I'm a commie. And now they're like I don't even know what you'd call them. It's like an anarchist, I guess, like whatever the complete opposite of a commie is. And I jokingly gave them this person a nickname. It was like a good friend of mine, my friend Tommy. And I would call him Tommy the Commie. Like that was the nickname I gave him. And he's like, yeah, I'm a commie. Like I believe in, socialism, communism, whatever. And we would argue about it and things like that. But like, it's funny now, maybe part of it is that we're, in a lot more in agreement, but we still have disagreements. But when we talk, I actually thoroughly enjoy our disagreements because they're very respectful and we like just hear each other out and we both can kind of understand the other side. And even like talking to my friend Ryan, who's like a full-on left-winger liberal type, and I'm not a right-winger either, but I talked to him about politics last week, and like I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was interesting, and like I got a lot of his perspective, and I'm like, oh shit, like I understand why you feel that way, given the life you've had and like how you feel and grew up and your professional career. And like because I can hear his perspective and understand it, there's a disagreement there, but like I can respect the fact that he feels the way he does because he's lived the life he's lived. And I don't think we give each other grace like that at all in society anymore. It's very rare.
Yeah. Well, I like that you said you don't have to be a thing just because you spoke it out loud once in
Oh,
your
I
life.
love that
right?
too. Yeah.
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 Because
You
I don't
don't
know
have to
how many
defend it.
times I've like set my identity on something that I've said I'm going to do.
Yep.
Right. Where it's like, I'm going to be a film director or whatever. And then it's like, if I don't do that, I'm such a failure. Right. So I'm just, everything I do has got to be towards that thing. But yeah, like I think it is okay to update your beliefs. It's okay to update what you do. I have a friend that was he was a videographer, and they moved into like sound recording for film and TV, and then it wasn't for him, and now he's a welder. Right? That's not like who he is, but that's what he's doing. And like, imagine if he set his identity around being a sound recordist or whatever, and he's so like now he just feels like a huge failure, and that's not what I am. And so I think that can play into a lot of different things in our personality.
Yeah. A lot of people look at their identity as their purpose, right?
Yeah.
My identity is my. I think that's where a lot of people kind of go off the rails a little bit, because if you make your identity one thing, that you're kind of making your purpose one thing. And this is sort of what like culture and politics and things like that have become. Like you look at people who constantly go to like protests, they're like, this is my identity, whatever, go into BLM rallies or like the trucker convoy rally, like that's my identity, I'm this thing now. And that's a really, I think there's a reason that like those people are all unhappy. Like there's not many similarities between people who went to a Black Lives Matter rally and the trucker folks, but one of the similarities between the two of them is they're all unhappy.
Yeah.
Like you can listen to the people talk at the trucker. They're like, those are not happy people.
Right.
And I get it. They're like speaking out about an injustice. The same with the like Black Lives Matter rally. Those are not happy people. And I think a lot of them have wrapped their identity in this thing, and it's like the only identity that they have. But your identity almost needs to be like multi-dimensional. Like I don't have one identity. My identity is wrapped up in the fact that like I'm a father, a husband, I'm pursuing a business, I'm also a friend. I do a podcast and I write, but that's not my identity. My identity is Josh, this human being who's very, multifaceted into many different things, has many different interests and purposes. And that's what ultimately makes me happy, is having that many purposes. And I think it's super important. I heard somebody say, maybe it was a clip you sent me, but somebody said like, your purpose is the thing that stops you from killing yourself. Did you send me that clip?
I don't think so, but yeah, that
No.
sounds.
I heard that. I'm like it's very, very like curt and direct, but I think there's a lot of truth to it. You look at the men that are killing themselves, a lot of them really lack a purpose. I mean, sure, there's mental health aspects of it too, but there's people who kill themselves who don't actually have a mental health issue. It's more they have like a lack of purpose.
Yeah. Well, I think another thing you can do too around purpose is try to come up with a set of values for yourself. Yeah. And narrow it down as best you can to like a few, like maybe 5. But I think if you really did that exercise and found what you value and what you find important, then it doesn't really matter what you're doing, like as far as career, as far as like, maybe being a protester or whatever. If you've got like a set of values that make sense to you and do drive towards a purpose, then I think that's a good thing to establish. Like for me, a really big value for me is trust, right? Trust. And the more I lean into that, I'm like, you know what? That's been a value for me my whole life. Right. And same with like creativity. Creativity is a big value for me. And I think about like all the things I've done in my life, even like building a deck or a patio or like, making films or whatever. All of that leads into that creativity value. And that's super important to me. And I think when you lean into those, that it leads you towards that purpose.
Yeah, it also probably is going to lead you to people with similar values. Once you can identify what your values actually are, those are the people that you're going to become the most, important parts of your life.
Exactly.
Whew. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but yeah, my wife and I share very similar values. The creativity aspect is both there for us. Like my wife's extremely creative. We just have different outlets for it. Hers
Yeah.
is more, she's into like art and, baking and making pretty looking things. And I write um, pretty little books about dirty little things, I guess. So, or make like a pretty little podcast about dirty little things. I don't know. But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it's all creativity. It just sort of manifests in different ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. You and I too. Obviously, we connect. We have very similar values as well.
Yeah.
In different stages.
Oh, so just to bring it back to the video, he's talking about church here. He said he put a lot
Used
of
to
his
turn
yeah
to
he would
religion.
turn to the church. Yeah, here we go.
Both in the Protestant realm and the Catholic realm. But I don't know. It wasn't faith that I found, it was performance. Just rooms and cathedrals full of people just pretending to be healed and just posturing like they've conquered sin while secretly drowning in it. And yeah, I played along. I tried to speak the language and wear the smile and raise my hands in the Protestant realm. When I was Catholic, I was in Latin Mass. There's no hand raising. That's a whole other topic for another day. But I'm no longer a Christian for many reasons. You can watch my other content to have a better understanding of that. I'm not going to get into that right now. That's kind of a side issue, but it wasn't real, and I can't function around inauthenticity. It makes my skin crawl. That whole, it's like being it's that feeling of claustrophobia, I guess. That whole environment, both in the Protestant and in the Catholic realm, it just taught me that, it was just theater, honestly.
So I'm the same, obviously. I know you are too, but like I've been in the church when I was younger. I always felt the same things that he's describing. I always thought it was performative. I also grew up in a small town where I knew many of the people who were at the church, and to be honest, the worst creeps in town were the ones who were probably the most devout.
Mm-hmm.
That was always interesting to me. I'm like, he's like the worst person in town, yet he's here. Like all the people my dad would say, like, oh yeah, he's a slime bag, or like, this is the story about him, and be like, that guy's sitting in the front row at church though, Dad. And I always would point that at my father, and I would argue about that a lot. One of the big, like, contentious issues him and I had was religion. Yeah. And there was a point later in his life and my life, obviously, like I altar served when I was a kid in Catholic Mass. And I altar served for a lot of different priests over the years. And as I got older and we got into the early 2000s, I was no longer an altar server. I stopped doing it when I was like maybe 14 or 15 or whatever.
Your jaw hurt?
I was tiring, dude. Every Sunday, man, for 10 years. No. So my dad and I, there was a lot of contention around this, and he was friends with some priests. We had a lot of people in our family who were also priests. I think, how many would we have? Maybe 3 or 4. But, my dad really wanted me to be a devout Christian and like have faith in my life and stuff like that, because it was an important part of his life. My dad went through a pretty rough childhood, and I think he found a lot of solace in the church, and sure, it's fine. I didn't. I found it, like I said, performative, and I thought a lot of it was just kind of bullshit. And I couldn't, like he's saying, I couldn't function in a place that was inauthentic. It's the same reason I couldn't function in like politics or in a corporation, because there's no authenticity there. And that's a real problem for me. Yeah. And I know it's for you too.
It's all just slogans.
It's slogans. Yeah. And it's like, it relies so much on just blind faith. Right?
Yeah.
You have to literally have blind faith, because if you have your eyes open, you start to see stuff and you're like, oof, that's a rough one. And as my dad got older, there were other things that my dad and I would argue about, which I always found interesting. But eventually he kind of came to my side on almost all of them. Like, I'll give you another example. We used to argue about war a lot, like the U.S. being involved in all these wars. And my dad worked for a military contractor. And it wasn't until like close to the end of his life where I think I mean, he stopped arguing with me when I would bring it up. He just almost was like resigned to the fact that I was right, because it just became like indefensible. And I think church too kind of became that. It's like obviously the scandal in the Catholic Church, as that started to really snowball and build, it was, I mean, there was a moment where a cousin of ours was convicted and had to go to jail. He didn't actually go to jail. He went to priest jail, but yeah, he was convicted of sex crimes against children. And I think that was kind of the end of it, where my dad was like, I can't defend this anymore. And for me, I was long before that I stopped going to church, but like that, yeah, that was the end for me, obviously too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's all, I mean, I just feel like it's all a lot of brainwashing and propaganda. That's kind of my take on it. And thinking of your dad, like thinking war was a good thing because he works at a contractor for war. It's like, well, of course he was being propagandized harder than we are.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And also he grew up in the time where like there was only one voice on the TV, and it was all America, and, North America's great. The West is great. The rest of the world's monsters, and we need to blow them up or whatever.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. I say all that to say that it kind of goes back to the point of like, no one's coming to save you. Like institutions and things like that. People put their faith in institutions that they're going to save you, be it a church, so a corporation, or, other institutions. They're not. Ultimately, there is a lot of theatrics in it, and you need to understand that like you are your own savior, which is kind of the point he's trying to make with the whole video.
Yeah.
Right,
for sure.
I just didn't think that any of it really aligned with the full truth. And if you're wired for the truth, for the full truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you'll always feel like a square peg in a round hole when you're surrounded by people pretending to be whole. So, but yeah. But anyway, so when I was at 29, I became a father. Okay, and that's what changed everything. You realize just how selfish you've been your entire life the moment that you become a parent. You realize how weak you were, and you discover a kind of love that doesn't exist anywhere else. I mean, my situation wasn't simple. It still isn't. The family court system became my battlefield. It still is to this day, and it will break a man who doesn't know who he is. It's a machine with teeth that doesn't care about your heart. It tests your endurance, your patience, your sanity. But here's the thing: it forced me to grow, and it still forces me to grow. It forces me to become more strategic and more resilient and more disciplined.
Great.
Because when your child is on the other side of that wall, you either evolve or collapse. So my 30s were a forge. Every loss, every betrayal, every sleepless night in that system, all of it stripped away who I thought I was. That decade from 30 to now, it taught me that struggle isn't punishment, it's refinement. You don't grow from comfort. You just don't. You grow from confrontation, from friction. And when you finally stop asking why me and start asking what now, you become dangerous, and not to others, but to the weakness that used to run your life. So
grit, right?
Yeah.
That's what he's describing is like when you have to deal with the friction, that's where you develop grit.
Yeah. Well, I think a good practice is to try to create that discomfort and that friction for yourself, as opposed to letting something else create it for you.
Yes. You have an example, the best or a good example of how you can do that, or something you can put in your life that it kind of forces you to do that?
Yeah, well, trying to start your own business would be one. All the steps towards that. Myself currently, like I've had a business running for a while. I'm trying to start a subset off of that business, like a whole other thing. And, I'm coming into a slow period, right? Over the next few months, like it happens every year. And I could either take the friction from that slow period and just struggle and try to figure out, okay, where's the money going to be coming from? Or I can take that time and go, okay, here's some valuable time that I'm always saying I don't have, and create this other thing that's hopefully going to take away some of that friction. But there's going to be, I'm creating my own source of friction there by even trying to build that thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. It kind of plays too to the, an episode we did, Region Beta Paradox, where, he's talking about comfort, and that's something that people get locked into comfort. I actually just gave a big speech yesterday just about the danger of getting comfortable in something. And I am certainly guilty of this. Early in my career, I got a job that was like cushy and easy. And I had a great shift, 7 to 3. Didn't mind the job. It was just an easy going kind of job. Paid me enough to have a decent life, like a pretty average life. And every day I would like text my friends at the end of the day, like 2:30. I'd be like, boys, where are we meeting up? Because they all worked construction and they all got off work at 3. And we'd go hang out at a bar on like a Tuesday at 3:00 and just like 6-7 hours of drinking and, having wings, just having a good time. Then go home, go to bed at like 11, wake up, do it all over again. Next day, texting again. And it was just such a comfortable, easy thing. And I fell into this massive trap of comfort where I didn't evolve or grow or anything like that. I just stayed stuck the same person. And it was ultimately I reached a boiling point, which is what happens with comfort. You kind of get forced into discomfort. So yeah, I totally understand what he's talking about. And nobody wants to go through the shit he's talking about where you're fighting for your kid. But there is something when you come out of it to have the perspective to be like, I learned a lot from that. Like it wasn't 100% a negative. It was mostly negative, but there was some good. That does happen. And you don't have to feel bad about that you took some good from a bad situation. I think a lot of people do. I think they feel guilty if they come out of something with, a bit of a positive outlook or like something good came out of it. And I've been that person. Yeah. People die. My dad died and it was horrible and a horrible experience. And I miss him to this day. It was 15 years ago, but like it changed my life and it changed the path I was on. And I was able to like take some good from it. Doesn't mean I liked it. Doesn't mean I'm thrilled. Like, oh boy, look at all the great stuff that came out of him dying. I don't see it like that, but I don't see it as 100% like in the negative direction. I did take some good things out of it from him ultimately, but yeah, I think it's sometimes hard. You feel guilty about that.
Yeah.
All right.
Now at 40, I know who I am and why I'm here. The noise doesn't move me anymore. The flattery, the gossip, the fake alliances, all of it rolls off because I finally built myself on something solid. Truth. The pursuit of it. The defense of it. And I'll die on that hill if I have to, because my son is watching. He's learning what a man looks like by how I carry myself when it's hard, not when it's easy. If I have to be uncomfortable for his sake and for the sake of what's right, then I'm fine living there. Comfort never made a man worth remembering. Here's the thing. In my 20s, I tried to impress people. Eventually, you'd stop caring about that. Who cares what other people think, okay? You don't need to impress other people, okay? Don't go that route, okay? And I know I promised that this would be 10 minutes. It's now about 15. So here's the thing. I am 40, and I am finally grateful for the pain. It shaped me into a man that I respect and can look in the mirror. I can go to sleep at night. So you can learn from your scars or you can repeat them. That's your choice. It took me 20 years to learn all of this. And you just got it in 15. So the only question remains. There's one question. What will you do with it?
What will you do with it?
What will you do?
Yeah. He's so right about the part about not caring what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that till maybe a couple of years ago. Honestly, I don't know if I realized it till we started doing this show.
Yeah.
I only started recently feeling it. I had this conversation with my wife too, where I was like, it might have been only in the last year where I was like, I don't think I really care what people think of me. I think I've moved on from that. And that's not an easy
Yeah.
thing to do.
No. What's the point of caring what other people think? I mean, you're gonna die anyways.
Well, that's just it. Yeah, that's just it. I'm gonna be
I know I
dead. No
sound
one's
like
gonna remember.
Hormozy there, but you're gonna die.
You are, and so is everybody else whose opinion you care about. So, like, what's the point? Yeah, in the short term, people might talk behind your back or whatever. But if you want to do anything that's worth doing, you're gonna have people shit talk it, especially at the beginning when you don't know what you're doing, and whatever you're trying to do is you're making mistakes, it's cringe, or you're having failure after failure. Like, that's the beginning of anything. That's kind of the origin story of any business, any personality, any show, anything that's worth building, really.
Yeah.
Any career. You're going to have your first few years are going to be just riddled with mistakes. And I used to care about that, not making the mistake, and now I just really don't. And now it's very public. Like, you can go online and see the videos we made that were shitty or cringe, which were a lot of them in the early going. Like, I look back at the early episodes of our show and I'm just like, fuck, we were really figuring it out. Like, we were really trying to figure it out. But you know what? Now I watch the episodes of our show and I'm like, shit, dude, like, we really have something here. Like, we really have a show that I think is good. And at the beginning, I didn't think it was great. I just thought it was a lot of like massaging certain things, figuring it out, like what's, all the stuff, especially with the shorts. Like, we're just throwing shit against the wall and hoping stuff stuck. And that's the beginning of anything. But you can't care what people think. And I think if you do something that you care about, eventually you stop caring what other people think.
Yeah. Well, and I think the show has its own set of values too. So if we stick with those, we're never going to go wrong. And speaking the truth, like he said, whenever you speak the truth, you don't have to try to remember the lie. So
yeah, so true. Yeah, so true. He also made the point. What was the other point he made that I thought was good? Oh, like being an example for his kid. I completely get that.
Yeah.
I think about it like enduring the pain for your kid. I think about that all the time. Especially, there's some nights where it's like midnight and I'm still working on something. And I'm like, shit, like I gotta get up at 5:30. I'm gonna be exhausted. But like those nights, I'm not working. I'm not like watching a movie or playing video games. I'm working on something to try to build a business or like, build a thing that allows me to be a more present father and, more of a figure in their life. And I'm already, my wife and I are very involved in our kids' lives and very present for our kids. And I even want to be more so, but I want to be an example to my kids of what a man should actually be like. So that when, if they go out and they're looking to get married to a man one day, they have an example to be like, well, this is sort of the bare minimum of what I will accept as an acceptable man is like my father. And I hope they find a man greater than me to marry and start a family with. But at a minimum, I want them to have someone who's like me, who, puts the work in, is respectful, loves his wife, loves his family, cares about the right things, has the right values. Like, that's what I want for my kids.
Has a runner's set of hips.
Yeah. Has better hips, better back. Yeah. Maybe, a little less dumb, maybe a smarter man, maybe a smarter man, maybe, man who makes more money, perhaps. He doesn't have to be rich, but makes more than me, I guess. Yeah.
Hey, what was that guy's name? We should shout him out.
Which guy? This guy?
The guy that we just watched that video.
That's dad mode, and I already did at the start. That's dad mode in dark mode. Yeah, we'll try to link the video. He doesn't actually have a name. His channel is very interesting. There are some videos that I think could be construed as being like putting him in like the manosphere. But like, I think as he gets more success, people are going to start to call him like, oh, he's trying to be like an Andrew Tate, but he's really not. He's not like being like chauvinist about it. He's just like, he kind of just focuses on the man. Like, this is what men should be like. This is what men should strive for and want and things like that. He's not like calling women bitches and stuff like that, like Tate does.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think he's probably, if he gets much bigger than he is, he's going to start to get kind of roped in with him, which might be good for his career. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. Yeah. Tate's got a lot of followers, so yeah. Anyways. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for watching the show. Again, folks, please like, subscribe, share the videos if you enjoy them. We're available, obviously, on YouTube in video form, and then if you want to catch us in the audio form, we're available on Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, all the podcatchers all the time. And we're getting to a point where we have a very large index of episodes. So go back, check out the old ones, let us know what you think, comment below, all that fun stuff. But thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it.
So thanks again for tuning in to Second Story. Flip the script, write your sequel. See you on the next one.